Well, if January is any indication, this is gonna be a really good year. Hello there, welcome back to the channel. I am Grand Moff Tony. Well, January is pretty much over with, so it's time once again to have a look at the fine additions to the collection this month.
Fine addition to my collection.
Yes, welcome to January's Fine Editions. We've had some great new figures for the collection this month, so let's not waste any time, let's just get right to it. Up first, we have the end of an era. It really is. For the last time on these videos, we have Figrin Dan, Music Man. What a hunt this has been for the Cantina Band. I made a decision very early on that the Cantina Band was going to be something that I looked for in person only. Now that means, sure, I may have overpaid, I may have missed out on some great online bargains, but I had the joy of finding each and every member of this band in person on a shelf. With the exception, of course, of Nail and Shield, because he's an online exclusive, but that's beside the point. This has just been so much fun. I got my first Figrin Dan figure back in September. I've found at least one every month leading up to this, and this month I found the final member sitting on a shelf, completely unassuming while I was looking for an entirely different figure. But what a fantastic addition to the collection. What an end to an era. Figrin Dan, Music Man, welcome to the collection. Of course, with all 6 Figrin Dans added to my collection, it was finally time to reach out and purchase Nail and Shield, the deluxe Nail and Shield. Finally giving those final 3 members of the band their instruments, and of course, the last member. I am so thrilled with how this all came out. I am so happy with my collection. Yep, I know there's some debate within the community as to how many members of the Cantina Band there are, but to me, I go by the first line on the Wikipedia article. It says, Figrin Dan and the Modal Nodes is a 7-member band. And in that scene in A New Hope, there are 7 Bith performing on stage. So that's the number I went with. And I am beyond thrilled with how this came out. They've made a brilliant addition to the collection. I just couldn't be happier. I guess I'm gonna have to find another team to start obsessing over in the Black Series now. Cantina Band, done. Next up, at a surprisingly well-stocked Target in my local area, I picked up the deluxe Ned B. What a droid. This guy looks fantastic. I knew as soon as I saw him in the Kenobi series, I wanted that figure, and now I have that figure. And I nearly missed him. I nearly walked away from him, and what a loss that would have been. Ned B has been showing up pretty consistently in Targets recently, so I'm pretty sure if you're out there on the hunt looking for him, you're gonna find him. But just make sure you sweep him up before he disappears, because this guy is a solid Black Series figure. I don't think there is a sturdier figure in the entire line. You just plonk him down, and he doesn't move. He's got some fantastic sculpted and painted details. The articulation is brilliant. I'm so happy with him. Ned B, fine addition to the collection indeed. Next we get into my pickups from our latest toy hunt, where we struck gold at Fett's Toy Depot in Saginaw, Michigan. What a find! What a find! I may not have found what I thought I was looking for, but I definitely found some great stuff. And first among those was the Mandalorian Loyalist, the ex-Walmart exclusive no less. This was the last member of the 4-figure Walmart exclusive Clone Wars wave that came out a few years ago and was practically impossible to find. I was able to score the Clone Trooper, Ahsoka, and the Mandalorian for Christmas that year, but this guy just kept slipping through our fingers, and he was always just too expensive, just too more than I wanted to spend on this figure. What a fantastic find. I am so happy to finally finish this little collection of exclusives. Next up from Fett's Toy Depot is another exclusive, the GameStop exclusive Heavy Battle Droid Gaming Greats figure. I didn't even know this figure existed, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I was scrolling through my checklist where I keep a list of every figure that I have and every figure that I'm looking for, and initially I just thought it was the brown Geonosis variant, but when I took a closer look at my list, I saw heavy battle droid listed right there, and here he is. What a brilliant figure. I'm a big fan of this B1 mold. It just looks great, and the fact that you can store the blaster on the side, and this guy comes with an assortment of heavy weapons. Can he necessarily hold them all without tumbling over? We shall wait and see. But for now, the Gaming Greats Heavy Battle Droid, fine addition to the collection indeed. Another great find from the same store was the Vandor Chewbacca from the Solo movie. I haven't seen this figure in the wild for years, so imagine my joy when I finally tracked down one of the Chewbaccas that I've been missing, and arguably probably one of the best Chewbaccas in the line. The addition of the goggles, the little double bandolier he's got going on, it just looks fantastic, and this shotgun-looking thing just looks mean. It is such a great figure, and as I said on the day, I'm pretty sure this rounds out my Solo collection. I think I've got them all now, so happy days to me. This was a great find, and I am endlessly grateful for it. But we're still not done. Also from Fett's Toy Depot, the George Lucas Stormtrooper disguise. I never even expected to find this figure. It was never even one that was on my radar. But there it was, just sitting on the shelf, crying out to me, take me home and add me to your collection. I feel like this is the most appropriate way as a toy collector to pay my dues to the creator of all Star Wars, the man to whom I owe a massive chunk of my childhood and I guess my adult life. The likeness on this figure is fantastic, and I'm always a fan of adding another Stormtrooper to my collection. But just the idea of having this guy standing as just a regular Stormtrooper and knowing that somewhere in my display, one of those Stormtroopers is secretly George Lucas, it just makes my day. It's like my version of how, in the movies, they were able to sneak massive Hollywood stars like Daniel Craig into the movies by disguising them as Stormtroopers. This was a surprise, to be sure, but definitely a welcome one. My final addition to the collection from Fett's Toy Depot was the long-awaited second Gamorrean Guard for my collection. I said recently in my top 10 best of all time that my single greatest regret with the Gamorrean Guard was that I had only found one, and hallelujah, I found another one. This is not the 40th anniversary reissue, this is another of the Red Line boxes. So it is the original Gamorrean Guard, and it has everything I could have wanted, including a second weapon to make him stand out, just make him just a little bit more unique on the shelf. I think it really frames my new Jabba's Palace display to have a Gamorrean Guard standing on either side of the throne. It completes it to me. It looks so cool. This is, as I said, one of my favorite figures in the entire Black Series line, so being able to add a second one of these to the collection was too much of an opportunity to pass up. This figure is awesome. Fett's Toy Depot in Saginaw, Michigan is awesome. If you haven't already, do please check them out. I will include all of their contact information in the description down below. Speaking of the failed toy hunt for Wave 34, of course, when I go out with the intention of filming a toy hunt, I'm not going to find what I'm looking for. No. I'm going to find what I'm looking for on the days when I just happen into Target and I can't record it because I'm already on the phone. I stopped into Target the other day and look who I found. It's the Season 1 Migs Mayfeld. This is a fantastic figure. Of course, we got the tank driver Mayfeld a little while back, but this is the one that we all really wanted. So of course, that old figure has just had its helmet put on and is now just a tank driver. Welcome back to the Imperial Forces. This is my display Migs Mayfeld. There can be only one. I love all of the guns that this guy comes with. I love the little gun attachment on the shoulder. I knew as soon as I saw it, that would look so cool in the Black Series. I suppose the supreme irony of the situation is that out of the two figures, I prefer this one, and yet out of the two appearances in The Mandalorian, I prefer his Season 2 episode. Go figure. Season 1 Migs Mayfeld, fine addition to the collection. And finally, rounding out the month of January, on the same shelf in the same Target that I found Migs Mayfeld, I struck gold. With possibly one of my most anticipated figures from Wave 34, the Grand Inquisitor. What a score! And what a figure! This guy is fantastic. Now, as a die-hard Rebels fan, I was always counted among those who were like, well, I'll just take the cape off and I'll just display him with my Rebels figures. But I get this figure in hand and I just fell in love with how it looks, with this deeply intimidating outline. Hey, I suppose my only choice is to go back and get a second one. Ever since we got the second sister in the line, I have been crying out for the Grand Inquisitor, and I am so happy to finally add this fantastic character to my collection. I don't mind saying that if Grand Admiral Thrawn hadn't stolen the show in the last 2 seasons, the Grand Inquisitor would have been my favourite villain of that entire show. I just loved his personality, I loved his attitude, and I absolutely loved how Rupert Friend took that character in his own direction in the Kenobi show. It was a scene-stealing performance. No wonder they had to sideline him for so long. He was stealing the whole show. There is so much exceptional detail on this figure, from the face to the armor, just all of it. And the way the cape sits behind him just looks fantastic. I lament the fact that I didn't find this guy in time to include him in my top 10 best of 2022, because he absolutely would have made the list. It truly does go to show that even though we live in the Midwest and sometimes it feels like distribution has forgotten about us, you never know what you're going to find on a chance visit to Target. Thank you so much! So those were January's fine additions. 2023 is off to a fantastic start. Honestly, the completion of the Cantina Band, the perfect framing of my Jabba's Palace with 2 Gamorrean guards, finally tracking down the Grand Inquisitor. I really couldn't have asked for more. There's been some brilliant discourse and discussion going on in the comments the last couple of days. I am always interested to hear from fellow collectors. What did you add to your collection this month? Did you finally track down a holy grail that you've been looking for? Did you score an incredibly rare figure at an unbelievable bargain? Let me know. I always want to know. And of course, I'll be back the same time next month to talk about what I found in February. If it's anything like January, it's gonna be good. For the time being, though, I've been Grand Moff Tony. Those were January's fine additions. You may subscribe when ready. God, I make life difficult for myself. Hold the helmet. Just hold